If you can please follow me for the meeting beginning ritual, please. 起立，面向佛堂，参加三鞠躬：一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬。参加各位点传师一鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。
关掉了吗？我刚刚已经叫用完关了。OK。
太好了，谢谢。So typically, the Chinese congregants will begin their gathering with singing some Dao songs, which is what you heard in the background. And so there's in the temple there's speakers throughout the entire building, so people can hear. And however, if we leave them turned on in this part of the building, it's going to be it's going to get in the way of our talk. So I've asked them to turn that off. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We have a short meeting today, so would like to not waste any time, if at all possible. And good morning, Alex. Happy to see you, as always. Awesome to have your energy in the mix. And let me also say hello to everyone that I haven't greeted yet. Very happy to see everybody. So I am sharing my screen, so you should be able to hear me and you should be able to see my screen. Right now it's on the schedule, on the upcoming schedule. If for any reason you cannot see that, or if perhaps the second stops moving, stops updating, then that would mean that the screen sharing is not working properly. The video conferencing is not working properly, then please let me know and I will make an attempt to fix it. For now though, let me draw everyone's attention to our schedule for today. Today is April 13th, so you can see that we have the spring ritual here at the temple coming up. So usually the spring ritual takes longer. The regular daily ritual is maybe about half an hour, and the spring ritual will go on for about an hour. It's a bit longer, so what we have to do typically is that we finish our discussion in 1 hour instead of 2, so to give people the opportunity to participate in the spring ritual if they so wish. So that is the reason why I've asked Bill and Carmen to give me the time today, the 50 minutes that we have, so I can respond to some questions. And also wrap up whatever leftover discussions from last Sunday. That is the game plan today. All right, so you can also see from the schedule that later on this afternoon, we're going to have the shrine opening at the Kata Training Center, which is out in Valencia. So for those of you who have never been to Southern California and don't know this area, Valencia is a suburb of Los Angeles. It is in what we call the Santa Clara Valley. So it's a bit of a distance away. It's about an hour, roughly an hour away from the temple. So the idea is that today, when we're done with lunch, at about 1:30 or so, I will be heading out there. So, and the masters will be heading out there also. This event, the shrine opening, has been planned for quite some time. It is very similar to the shrine opening that we did years ago for Bill, and that was that went off without a hitch. That was really just a very special, memorable shrine dedication that we did with Bill out there in Indiana. So I'm hoping that today we will have the same success that we did before. And I know that for many of you who are connecting over the internet, you're going to be thinking, you know, like, well, I'm not even close to Southern California, so there's no way for me to be there at the shrine opening to see what it's like. So what I wanted to do today is just to give you an idea of what's most likely going to happen when the shrine opening takes place. And there's a whole bunch of things that I go into, that I talk about during the shrine opening. So to give you an idea, usually what happens is that the people on the Akata Training Center side, they are also communicating to that group of people, to the people who are their customers, their clients, and they're letting them know that today is a special occasion and everyone's invited. And the event has a couple of different parts to it. One part of it is that when we get there, it'll be about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So once we get everything all set up, which will take about 15 minutes, then what's going to happen is that the masters and the people that are volunteers here from the temple to help them, they will conduct a series of rituals. So what they will do is that they begin with the what we call the offering ritual. So this is where fruits are taken to the shrine and offered to the shrine. This is it's the symbolic meaning of the offering ritual is abundance. You bring up these items, and also sharing, that these items are to be shared for everyone. The abundance is something to be shared, and more importantly, community. It's pointing to the great family of the Tao, sharing in the abundance of the Tao. So that's the very first part that is called the offering ritual. And then they will go through the invitation ritual, 请谈 in Chinese. And what that means is that they basically offer an invitation to all divinities, to all the divine entities to come to witness the special event taking place, provide their blessing, their protection, etc. So that's the second part, known as the invitation ritual. And then they will go from there into the shrine opening ritual, after which they will be offering the opportunity for anyone that wants to go through Dao initiation, to go through what we call the Qiu Dao, and I can explain that a little bit later on, which is the it's a ritual to request the Dao to be transmitted from masters to Dao seekers, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that follows that. But I want to give you a rough idea on the beginning part. While the masters and the volunteers are conducting the rituals, I, in a different room, will be conducting an introductory talk on the Tao. So I mean to share that with everyone as well, because I'm very much aware that you will not have the opportunity to see it, and you may be quite curious as to what I will talk about. So that's all coming up. For now, to use our time together, what I want to do is to wrap up our discussion from last week, which is chapter 21. There was only one topic that we didn't have enough time to get to, and I will get to it today. After that, I will come back around and talk about this shrine opening event and give you more of an idea what's going to take place. I would also, by the way, be very happy to answer whatever questions you may have surrounding all of that. If you're curious about the shrine opening, about what I'm going to talk about, and anything that is on your mind, I will be very happy to answer those questions. All right, so moving on. Next week, want to make sure everyone is aware that there's going to be a Dao conference, which means no online meeting next Sunday. So the Dao conference to take place here at the temple is meant for Dao initiates. And so the various masters, they will all take the podium one after another. The events will start at 8:30 in the morning, and it goes on until 3:30 in the afternoon. So basically, one presentation after another on various aspects of living the Tao life. So here at the temple, that's next week, and therefore we're not going to have an online meeting because of it. It would also not be appropriate for that particular Tao conference to be broadcast over the internet because it is meant only for those who have gone through Tao initiation. Tim, to answer your question, I'll be busy talking about the Tao. I'm gonna have to rely on other people to take photos and share. Maybe send me those photos or send Mark those photos after the event, so we can post them on Facebook to share with everyone. That's a good question. You know, I would love to be able to take photos, but I'll be kind of busy. You'll see why when you see the topics that I intend to cover. Okay, so beyond next week, we'll go back to the Tao Te Ching, and we'll spend 2 Sundays on chapter 22. Then we have Mother's Day coming up, May 11th, and therefore no online meeting for that weekend, for that Sunday. And then when we come back, we go into chapter 23. So that's the rough overall plan heading forward into the future. Okay, so now, first things first, I want to wrap up chapter 21. There's only one more topic to cover, and then we will talk more about the presentation that I will give today at the Kata Training Center. I can, since most of you won't be there, I can give you a quick preview of what I intend to talk about. So chapter 21, I want to do a very quick recap over all this. So what we did was that we went through the different sections and we talked about every single line. We went through it line by line, character by character, and we worked our way through interpretations for the various sections. So it's not just the translation that you see here. We also have interpretations from before. Then, in an attempt to distill it even more, we boiled down the interpretations into one slide. So the result from the previous 2 weekends, the previous 2 meetings, can be summarized this way. The Tao is mysterious. Within it, there is the pattern for all of existence. Within it, there is the potential for all of creation. Within it, there is the ultimate essence. Within it, there is what I believe. How can I be so sure about this mysterious Tao with this one thing? So the person that speaks this, the person who says this is Lao Tzu. So he's beginning by admitting, noting that the Tao is not so easy to understand, that it can be very vague, not easy to grasp. Then he makes a series of observations about the Tao, and then he declares his own belief in the Tao. And then he talks about the one thing. He says, I am so sure about the Tao, I know about the Tao because of this, because of this. So what he says specifically, literally, he says, I know because of this. And we've talked about this in a variety of different ways. And it boils down to the one thing. So I want to remind everyone that what we did was that we explained the one thing from a whole bunch of different angles, and I want to take everyone to that particular discussion about the one thing. So last time, I used Curly the Cowboy, played by Jack Palance in the movie Silly Slickers, as my example, as a way to lead into the discussion. So what this character says in that movie is that, you know, the secret of life is this. And then he held up that finger. It's the one thing. It's the one thing that when you get it, when you figure it out, nothing else really matters. It's just that one thing. But what is it? Well, you have to do the figuring. You have to do the figuring out. You have to do the exploration. And that part's not easy. So the essence of life can be very simple, but it may not be something that's easy to figure out. Okay, so this is also from before. Let me distill it from the entire hour that I had last time to talk about the one thing this way. You can apply the one thing to so many aspects of life. And the most immediate way to apply it is to apply the one thing to your day. And then the question becomes, what is the most important thing you should do today? What is the thing that will make the most difference? What is the thing that will be the most significant? And if you find yourself thinking that, well, I've got more than one thing that's important, I've got more than one thing that's significant, then a Tao sage would say, well, the nature of human beings is that you can only work on one of them at a time. So which one is it going to be? Now, when someone is not skillful in living the Tao, there is the temptation to work on the urgent thing instead of the important thing. But urgent things may not be important. Urgent things may be urgent only because there is someone screaming and yelling, trying to force you to get something done. But it may actually be not as important as some of the other stuff that are not so urgent. So there is a distinction between the two. So figuring out the most important thing to do in any given day calls for skill. It calls for the marvelous skills of a Tao sage, of a Tao cultivator. Okay, so moving on, beyond the day, let me talk to you about your life. So there is a reason why you exist. There is a reason why you are here and I am here. The important thing is to figure out what that reason is. Now, again, you may say that, well, there may be more than one reason. Okay, that's fine. There could be a multitude of reasons, but out of all of those reasons, there's got to be something that is the most significant. And if you can't boil it down to just one thing, at least you can boil it down to a few things that are all important. Even that is a step in the right direction. But for most people, it is a very important question to ask. What is the number one most important thing that you are in this world to do? What is your mission? What is your sacred task? It's got to be a reason why you are here. Now, to all the people that say, well, why does there have to be a reason? I'm just here. Maybe there's no reason at all. To them, I would say, there is a reason for everything. A lot of times, we don't really understand what those reasons are, so there's a temptation to say, well, it's just there. Why? Well, maybe there is no why. It's just there. Or sometimes I seek a supernatural explanation. So imagine what happens in ancient times when our primitive ancestors who, without access, without knowledge of science, without technology, found themselves in some difficulty to explain natural phenomena. So when there is a lightning that occurs in a thunderstorm, the question will be asked, why? Why did that just happen? What is the reason for that? In ancient times, without concept of electricity, it might have been very easy to say, well, it's a supernatural explanation. You see there are invisible deities in the sky. When they get mad, or when they want to punish, when they battle, they use lightning as their weapon. So The ancient people were no fools. They see what happens when lightning strikes a tree, you know, that vast destructive energy. They understand that. So then they'll say, perhaps it is, you know, the weapon of the gods. Now, those who did not wish to resort to a supernatural explanation may say that, well, that's just the way nature is. That's just what happens in a thunderstorm. And there's no reason why. So both, we know, are mistaken. Today, we can say, well, you see there's electrical potential that gathers in the clouds during a thunderstorm, and that electricity has to be discharged. And when it discharges, it has that spectacular display of thunder and lightning. So that's we begin to understand at a deeper level what was causing it and the reason why it happens the way it does. Now, you can keep on asking why. So, you know, why is there electricity in the world, etc. And those successive questions lead you into deeper and deeper layers of understanding about our reality. So that's what the Tao is all about. It's what we apply to your life. Why are you here? Well, I'm here to do X, Y, Z. And why is that? Well, I have to do that because of, I don't know, my karmic connections. And why is that? Why do you have those karmic connections? And then you go deeper to understand yourself, your place in this world, your place in the cosmos, the reason why you exist at this point in time. So that's the second part about your life. What is the one thing in your life? And then let's, so obviously, you know, when we go from one day to one life, we're obviously talking about a huge difference in scale. One day is a very small part of one life. One life, hopefully many, many decades, you know, many years, and therefore many days. Now, let's expand the scale even more about to go from a day to a life to everything. So the question then becomes about the one thing. What is the one thing behind everything? You know, we see all around us how things work. What's behind them? Well, we have been told, scientists have told us, that behind the workings of the world, we have natural laws that govern them. We have physics, we have chemistry, we have biology. So what's behind them will be another question. So what keeps everything moving? So the ancient sages have said that the Tao has no emotions, but the Tao moves everything. You know, stars, galaxies, planets, satellites, everything. Human beings. And what is the force behind it all? And what, you know, and just a quick by the way, when we talk about what keeps everything moving, that ties into the concept of time. Why is it that time flows in one direction but not the other? What keeps it going in that direction? What is the force behind it all? What is the force behind gravity, light, magnetism, electricity? What is the force behind everything? And what is the underlying law? We have the natural laws. We have Newtonian physics. We have theory of relativity. We have quantum mechanics. We have a partial understanding of the world. Now we know we can glimpse the tantalizing hints of a natural law that's behind them. Right now, we're calling it the Grand Unified Field, the Grand Unified Theory, otherwise known as the theory of everything. It is meant to unite relativity with quantum mechanics into a coherent whole. And the candidates that we have for that at the moment is called string theory. And there's an offshoot of string theory known as M theory. M is a notation. It talks about the main brains between realities, etc. The multiverse. There's a whole lot of intellectual exploration to be done there. But the point is that we can glimpse in all that scientific knowledge something that is behind it all. So what is that one thing? Now, nobody has the answer to everything. But when we contemplate the oneness, the unity, the thing behind everything, that one thing, there is a sense of awe. There is a sense of wonder. And that's what leads me to the one point that I did not get to talk about last time, and that is, this place where we're doing this from, I-kuan Dao. So let me explain. This is the temple where we're at. This is the tradition behind this temple. So we've got 3 characters. Those of you who know some Chinese, this is the #1 simplest character in Chinese, and it's also the character for #1. So the #1 simplest character in Chinese is also the character for 1. It's just one line, I. And we then have a character here, guan. That means to go through. Then we have another character here. This should be a familiar character to you. This is the character for the Tao. So the way it is written is right below it. And this is the way that it's Romanized in the first Romanization system. Now, a lot of times people will say, I-kuan Tao, and that is the wrong way to say it. So the correct way to say it is I-kuan Dao. And that is the correct pronunciation, and this is the correct spelling, given the very first Romanization system to write Chinese words in English. So what is the meaning? Well, we have one, we have through, and then we have Dao. So you may be tempted to say, well, it's the one through Dao. Well, let me explain. The translation will be something like the Tao that unifies all. The Tao that unifies all. So the one is oneness and unity, or the one thing that unifies everything. So basically what the sages are saying is that if you look back on the one thing that manifests at all the different levels of reality, from your day, your life, to your existence, your universe, well, it's all one thing, and that one thing is the Tao. Now, this leads pretty well into the presentation that I want to give today. So as I mentioned, I'll be providing an introductory talk on the Tao this afternoon. And there's let me show everyone. I'm also going to play there with you. So quite a few things. So quite a few things to show you. First, let me pull up the presentation for this afternoon. So there it is. Let me simplify the screen a little bit. Okay, so there's that. And let me show everyone the schedule. Jeff, I think the reason why I'm breaking up is because I'm attempting to show the schedule, which forces me to share the internet connection. So I'm going to back away from that plan to talk about the presentation. That should cause it to become normal. All right. So here's the plan today. From 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. At the training center, I plan to talk about. I plan to go through this presentation. It's only got about half a dozen slides, so this is not a very long presentation at all. At the end of this presentation, I've also asked various people to share their personal experience with the Tao. So I imagine later on I'll be talking to Yola to go through what she wants to talk about. So that is the plan. All right. So here is a very let me just kind of sketch out the overall situation for you guys. This suburb of Los Angeles, Valencia, San Fernando Valley, it's a conservative area. So what happens is that when people live in the city, they live and work in the city, and later on they want to maybe start a family, a lot of them will decide that they want to do so at the outskirts of the city and not at the city itself. You know, it's better for raising kids. So some of them may head out to Simi Valley, some may head out to Ventura County, and some maybe the Inland Empire, and a bunch of people will be heading to the Santa Clarita Valley to start their family there. So that's a great place for the Akata Training Center because there's a huge amount of demand. There's a huge amount of demand out there for kids to go through some sort of a training, some sort of discipline that will be good for them. And it just so happens that Sifu Ed Monahan, I think he's really gifted in that area as a teacher. He is able to impart these concepts like discipline and honor and fair play and so forth, and the kids become transformed. A lot of parents will come back and say the kids are completely different before and after. They can't believe it. So there's a lot of great reasons for the training center to be out there. At the same time, what is very important to Sifu Ed is that in addition to training the kids on physical fitness and martial arts, he wants to make sure that they have a good foundation in life philosophy, something that will benefit them for a lifetime. So that's what I'm helping him on doing. So for those of you who are not going to be there to see this presentation, what I'm planning to talk about I have a slide here that explains, and when I go there, I will talk about this in detail. This is just a preview for now. So what happens is that many people will say Dao incorrectly, and there's benefit in me bringing this up in our meeting right now because there are so many people that are connected to this presentation now, this internet video conference right now, that I know this misconception still exists out there. So I want to expose it. I want to talk about it. So the correct way to say it like Dao with a D sound. The incorrect way is to say it like Tao. So most people still say it incorrectly, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why. And this afternoon, I'll explain what those reasons are. Right now, I want to draw your attention to the very last point there. This mistake is being perpetuated by people who are thought to be experts or are thought to know better. So for instance, experts on the Tao, college professors, authors, they themselves will say Tao. And then maybe they'll open up a dictionary and show you that the correct pronunciation is Tao. Well, they are all wrong. And there's an author who says, well, the original Chinese sound is between T and D, and it's arguably closer to a T. Well, he has no Chinese knowledge, so he doesn't really understand what he's saying. That's a misconception, trying to gain legitimacy with more misconceptions. And then Chinese speakers themselves, they're no big help. They themselves will say Tao. Why? Because they come into this country, they hear other people say Tao, and they think to themselves, well, that's probably the right way to do it in this country, so I'm going to do what they do. So they take on the mistake themselves. So what I want everyone to do is that when you find someone who says Tao, you can go up to them and let them know that the correct way is the Tao. And if they say, well, wait a minute, I'm the expert on the Tao, you will then be able to say, you are an expert who happens to be wrong. So the correct way is Tao with a D sound. It'll be even funnier if you come across a native Chinese speaker who says Tao, and you can say, hey, listen, I don't speak any Chinese, but I happen to know that in your native tongue, you should say it like Tao. And then see how they react. And the next thing that's very important for me to talk about is what the Tao actually is. It's oftentimes thought of as a religion, and I want to showcase to everyone what it really is, because the Western conception of religion does not map very exactly to the Eastern conception of the Tao. So if anyone connecting to us on the internet is under the impression that what we're talking about is religious Taoism, this is where I want to set you straight. And I want to offer an image below. This is an actual ceremony performed by religious Daoists. And then to the left, you see a ceremony performed by a Tao cultivator in the I-kuan Tao tradition. Okay, so as you look at the two pictures, I think you're going to notice the difference, that the ceremonial robes on the right-hand side is far more elaborate. It's very colorful, whereas the ceremonial robe on the left-hand side, well, there's basically nothing at all. It's just a gray robe. So that should be a very distinctive difference that you pick up right away. Now, this also depicts the difference between the two mentalities, the religious Taoism and simply the Tao. Religious Taoism developed out of Tao, but then made a few departures away from the original Tao. So one of them is the teaching on simplicity and plainness. That is the reason why we have the elaborate designs on the ceremonial robes. So I-kuan Tao, the tradition that focuses on the Tao itself, is sticking closely to the original teachings as far as simplicity and plainness. There is another factor that you should be aware of that I will bring up this afternoon. Notice over here the incense. So this is consistent in I-kuan Tao, that it is not the figurine of a Buddha that represents the Tao, it's the flame. Why is it the flame? Well, it is because the Tao is not a deity. It's an idea. It's a concept. It's the oneness that's behind everything. And the Tao is not personified. So the Tao doesn't have human emotions. The Tao can't get mad. The Tao can't be disappointed. The Tao cannot be sad. The Tao isn't human, not a deity, and therefore should not be treated as such. It's best represented as a force, like a flame, not like the Buddha. So if you were to go to the nightclub, what people call Tao, the nightclub and restaurant, you will see the image of the Buddha everywhere. Okay, well, that doesn't represent the Tao at all. The Tao is not a human face, nor is it a human likeness. So this is important. This is important for everyone to realize. Now, here at the temple, we're going to see quite a few depictions of the Buddha everywhere, on the wall, as a figurine, as a statue, etc. That's okay, as long as you understand that the statue of the Buddha represents the Buddha. And the concept embodied by the Buddha, serenity, peace, non-contention, compassion, nurture, loving kindness, those are all concepts that the Tao can embrace as well. Those are all very harmonious with the Tao. So clarity helps you get the difference between the two. So we just have a few more minutes. We're supposed to be done at 11:15. So let me just do a few more on what we're going to talk about today. So as I described a little bit earlier, we're going to be, when we're at the Kata Training Center, there's going to be a whole bunch of rituals that are taking place. So I think the natural question that people will ask is, well, you've just explained to us the distinction between the Tao and religious Taoism, but now you've got a whole bunch of rituals. So this is because in the West, whenever we talk about rituals, there's a heavily religious connotation involved. So the clarity and distinction that I want to provide to everyone is that rituals encompass many things. And even though in the West, there's usually a religious element, there doesn't always have to be. So as an example, let me point out to everyone the ceremony of marriage. Think about a wedding. Okay, that's the ceremony of marriage. So usually there's a religious element in there. There's the member of a clergy. So this is the tradition that we have because this is the way it's always been done. So think about European traditions where, for many centuries, religious institutions have figured prominently in people's lives. And indeed, in many cases, it's the only thing present in every aspect of life. So it figures into that as well. So human beings have only just begun in that scheme, in the overall time frame of history, we have only just begun to realize that it doesn't have to always be inextricably connected. And therefore, today, as an example, you have marriage ceremonies that are performed as a civil ceremony. You have people who perhaps may be atheists or agnostics, and they choose to have a ceremony conducted without religious elements. But does it take away the power of marriage? Does it take away the power of the wedding? I would say no. It is still a beautiful thing. And that's because rituals themselves are beautiful. Rituals themselves can be a thing of beauty and an indispensable part of human nature. The image that you see there is that of a tea ceremony. So with that one example, that's the other example that I have that will instantly communicate this idea. The tea ceremony, yes, beautiful, elegant, graceful, makes me feel great to observe or to practice. You focus your attention on what needs to be done, what a thing of beauty that is. But doesn't have to be tied to any religious elements. So rituals are a necessary thing for all of us. The second bullet there, it's a practice of discipline. These rituals are not designed to be, things that you can accomplish in just a minute or two and then discard. These are very mindfully designed to take more time than that. So your mind has a chance to settle down. And if you have the discipline of having your mind settled, you can approach life in a better position with attachment, with mindful awareness, understanding what's going on. And the rituals are also an opportunity to express how grateful we are about everything that's happening. Also an expression of humility and many other things that I'll talk about when we actually conduct this particular slide. And to satisfy your curiosity, I can also jump ahead and show you the other parts of this presentation. There you go. All right, so these are the things that I plan to do this afternoon. I figure there's going to be people that want to see them, and there's going to be people that can benefit from the explanations that I've just provided. I'm very happy to delve into any one of those topics in further detail, in more depth. If you need it, just let me know. For now, though, we are pretty much done with our shorter format meeting for today. We now need to prepare for the seasonal ritual, the spring ritual. So let's go ahead and do the meeting ending ritual for today, for today's class. 起立，面向佛堂，持架三鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，持架多一点，传世一鞠躬，结班一鞠躬。Thanks everybody, we're done for now.